Hello, how are you doing today? We are going to be talking about billing thinking today. But if you don't have a billable practice, I want you to listen anyway, because if you're dealing with numbers of any sort, revenue goals, client numbers, task lists, you can measure that, you are going to have thoughts. And when we have thoughts, we can sometimes have some drama. And I want you to have a drama-free practice. I want you to be able to look at your numbers instead of avoid them. The numbers are important, but what's even more important is what we make those numbers mean. In this episode, you're going to learn key thoughts to be aware of that are detrimental to hitting your billable targets, how to uncover what you're making the numbers mean and how that impacts your billable numbers, how to use some key indicators during your day as a crystal ball to predict how the numbers will go so you can turn your day around and make it more likely to hit your targets. Before we dive in, I want to make sure you have downloaded my Busy Lawyer's Quick Start Guide to Getting 10 Hours Back. It is the process I walk my clients through who want time management help, and they use it to hit their billable targets more often. You're going to get the step-by-step actions to make your week easier and the mindset principles behind each of these steps. You can download the guide at dinacataldo.com/busy lawyer. That's dinacataldo.com/busy lawyer. All right, let's get to it. So this week, I had a couple conversations with clients that were billable intensive, and I want you to benefit from the conversations that we had so you can get awareness of where this drama might be showing up in your practice and start diffusing it. And when you start paying attention to the way you think about your billables, it's going to help you hit your billable targets more consistently, and you're not going to feel so horrible on those days when you don't hit your targets. Same thing with revenue goals or your task lists. If you're looking at what you have not created yet and focusing your attention on that and thinking thoughts like, I didn't hit my goal or I didn't do what I needed to do, you're not going to make it more likely that you're going to hit your goal. That's because your brain is so focused on you not hitting the goal. Your brain can't be focused on problem solving to hit the goal. Our brain cannot do these two processes at the same time. So it's important that we recognize when we're not focused on the goal and refocus our brain. And I'm going to offer you something I learned the hard way. You can just stop thinking these thoughts. I can hear you say, though, but Dina, how do I stop thinking those thoughts? They're true. I didn't hit my goal and I didn't do all the things I needed to do to hit my goal. It doesn't matter. Not all true thoughts are worth thinking. This is how you will know if a thought is worth thinking. Ask yourself how it makes you feel when you think about your goal. If it feels crappy, it's a thought that needs to be kicked to the curb. Our brain automatically thinks thoughts that skew negative, sure. And you'll know that your brain is doing this if you feel bad. And when you feel bad, overwhelm, stress, pressure, anxiety, all of those feelings we call negative, the brain is focusing in on a way that is detrimental to your goals. That's just what our brain does. What we do, because we're evolved humans, is we redirect the brain. We decide what to think. We get to say, look, I understand, brain, you want to think this thing, I am going to ignore you. Hey, this was a concept I needed to learn because my brain very much wanted to tell me, especially early in the early years of my business, things like, you haven't hit your numbers. Thanks, brain. Thanks for letting me know. Well, I had to learn to recognize when I was thinking a true thought that really was not helpful to me. And I'm going to help you clue in to when you are thinking these thoughts when it comes to billables. So, what I needed to do, and what you will begin learning what works for you, is saying, yeah, that's okay. I can figure this out. Okay. Even though I'm not hitting my billable, that's okay. But I'm going to figure this out and move forward. And I'm going to actually walk you through a process where you're going to start getting the recognition that you need so that you could start turning your day around faster so you could start hitting your targets more and more frequently. So let's say you have a goal to make 8 hours of billables a day. And at the end of the day, you check your hours and you've made 4. The circumstance is I made 4 billables and my goal was 8. And then you have thoughts about the numbers. I didn't hit 8 hours. I needed 4 more hours to hit my goal. Now, these thoughts they are actually factually true. But for high achieving lawyers, which you probably are if you are listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, thinking these thoughts feels horrible. When we feel horrible, we think it's because of what we did or didn't do during the day, but we actually feel horrible because of what we are thinking. Because the thought, I didn't hit 8 hours, is not what's making you feel horrible. What's making you feel horrible is the underlying thought that you're having about those numbers. And I help my clients with this, but you can do this too. You can ask yourself questions like, what am I making that mean? What am I making it mean that I didn't hit 8 hours? My clients sometimes make it mean that, and this one in particular said something like, she made it mean that she never makes her hours, that she never hit her goal. Like we really dug in and we figured it out. And those thoughts just felt terrible. And they were impacting her ability to hit her hours because they were impacting how she showed up in her practice. And I'm going to go into detail in that in a minute because that's going to be part of the puzzle that you are going to want to put together for yourself so you can catch when these things are coming up for you and turn your day around. So, for those of you who have revenue goals or are looking at a task list, what are you making it mean if you don't hit your revenue goal or you don't complete your task list? So, here are some common thoughts us humans tend to have. I'm not good enough. My boss will hate me. I'm going to be fired. You would be surprised at how common this thought is. If you think this sometimes, I want you to know you're in good company. I work with some very high powered lawyers. Many, if not all of them, have had this thought, I'm going to be fired. So if you have had this thought, know that you are normal. I'm never going to hit my goal. This is never going to work. It's not working. These thoughts will not help you hit your goal. They will more than likely put you into a stress cycle where you're working longer hours and feeling tense. And that is not going to be helpful for you in the long run. You might get some short term results, but you're not going to get sustainable long term results. So now that we found superficial thought, which is looking at the numbers, and we found the underlying thought, which is whatever it is you're making it mean, whether it's you're going to be fired, I'm not good enough, whatever it is, we want to now tap into how that underlying thought makes you feel. Okay, because our thoughts create our feelings. We're generating more and more clues for you to tap in to when you are not going to hit your billables. So as you gather these clues, what you're creating here is the equivalent of a crystal ball for your billables. You're going to have so much information about how you think, feel, and behave that you're going to be able to tell whether you're likely to hit your billables as soon as you start working or as soon as you check in with yourself during the day. So the more you tune into yourself and how you think, feel, and behave, the easier it is to turn your day around when you see it going sideways. So come back to that thought that you have, that underlying thought, right? The thought that, I'm never going to hit my goal, for instance. I want you to drop into your body. How do you feel in your body when you think that underlying thought? Here's some questions to help you. Is your breath shallow or deep? Does your body feel open or closed? Do your shoulders slouch or do they pull back and open up? What does it feel like in the pit of your stomach? Do you feel tense? Is your jaw clenched? Okay, so now that you have some of that information, can you name the emotion associated with that feeling in your body? Is it worry, fear, shame, disappointment? Is it neutral? In other words, your body doesn't really feel good or bad. It might feel relaxed or calm. Do you feel proud, accomplished, committed? When you feel that way, whatever that one word emotion is, how are you likely to behave? When you think that thought and you feel that emotion, what kinds of actions are you likely to take? So one of my clients said that when she thought she was not going to hit her goal, her billable goal, she felt exhausted. She had some other thoughts, but that was the main one. And then for the actions that she took where she didn't contemporaneously bill, she multitasked doing things like answering emails while on the phone. She wasn't time blocking like she usually did. She walked away from her desk after she tallied her hours because she was avoiding that feeling that she had, that exhaustion. And, I think there was also some disappointment there that she wasn't hitting her numbers, and she didn't want to feel that, which is completely normal. And she also wasn't double checking her hours to see if they were accurate. Did she tally all her emails? Did she tally all her calls? And when we outlined her patterns, she then now can immediately see when her day is going sideways, and she can refocus on what works for her to make more billables, because we also explored that. And you can do the same for you. What works for you? For her, creating billables is easier for her when she is doing her weekly calendar. She's time blocking, she's focusing on her tasks instead of multitasking. So she is reining herself in when she notices that she's multitasking and instead says, okay, I'm going to have a block of time for emails, block of time for calls. She at the end of the day, double checks her hours and makes sure that she's tallied everything, and she contemporaneously bills as best she can. And this is why it's so important to recognize your patterns. If you don't, it's impacting your day, your week, and ultimately your goal. My client is going to have a much better chance of hitting her billables now because she is practicing seeing her patterns and rerouting them. And the more she does it, the better she gets at it, and the faster she's going to be able to turn a low billable day around midday. So, for example, let's say it's noon and you check in with yourself and you see that you've done one billable and you've been sitting at your desk for 4 hours. Okay. Now, there's no need to be mean to yourself. This is not about judging yourself. You want to actually be really kind because you want your brain to be in a productive mode. And it works way better when we're nicer to ourselves. The brain just likes to be nicer to us. So just ask yourself, okay, I have one billable. How am I feeling? What do you think? Why do you think you're feeling that way? Okay, you want to get to that superficial thought, which is the 1 hour, but then you want the underlying thought. So you want to ask yourself, what am I making that one billable mean? Now, you might be thinking, I only did one billable so far, but you're making it mean that you may as well forget hitting your goal for the day. And that thought may make you feel deflated. And then you notice how you're behaving. You're procrastinating on projects. You're not billing contemporaneously. You're not going back in your day and checking your hours. Or maybe you're even just checking out for the day. You're leaving the office for the day. And this is a pattern to become aware of. So then you can do something about it and catch yourself. If you shift gears midday and make even 3 more hours during that day, you're going to make it so much easier to hit your larger goal than if you just give up. And then you can ask yourself midday, if you're checking in with yourself, what can I do to turn things around today? Right? Is there a project that I can do that I can just like focus in on? Like let me just like ask somebody for work. Let me turn the day around. And the more you do this, the better you're going to get at it. And it's going to be like you have a crystal ball earlier in the day that is going to tell you how the rest of the day is going to go if you don't make a change right now. If you start to notice that you're feeling tense and you're feeling pressured, take a pause. Know that that feeling is not going to help you get the result that you want by the end of the day. One of the things that happens when we are in overwhelm or stress is that we block our genius. I had another client who was creating a plan for her week, but she was doing it out of stress and overwhelm. Her plans that we're going to have her do things like move everything on her calendar so that she could satisfy one client and create an unnecessary trip for her. And once we understood what was going on, we could save her that time and we could help her get her week back under control. But we just had to look at what was going on in her brain, how did she feel, and what was she doing as a result. The more you practice noticing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, the better you get at turning your day around. This is one of the things I help my clients with. Book a call with me to find out how we can work together so you can achieve your goals without the overwhelm. Go to dinacataldo.com/strategy session to book. You're going to notice a difference. You're going to start hitting your targets more frequently and start feeling better during your day. Makes a huge difference when you have someone looking at your brain every single week who can help you catch these thoughts and turn your day around and even turn your week around ahead of time. Because you can see What is going to happen in a client meeting, in a partner meeting, in your goals that week if you know how you're thinking and feeling right now? Because you can predict how you're going to behave. You can predict how you're going to walk into that meeting, how you're going to talk to your client, how you're going to show up when you're sitting down doing billables. But you've got to tune in to how you're thinking and what feelings are being created by those thoughts. And you have a choice. You have the ability to reroute, to turn your day around. And that's what I help you with. All right, my friend, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.